President Bormann has already underlined the meaning of this definition and the importance for us, the notaries, as well, of this definition. Then again, in order to simplify the proceedings for the enforcement from one country to another of the authentic instruments, in the diverse UE regulations is contained also a rule analogous to Article 60 of our Brussels 1A recast that states, I quote this last one, "The competent authority or court of the member state of origin shall, at the request of any interested party, issue the certificate using the form set out in Annex 2, containing a summary of the enforceable obligation recorded in the authentic instrument or of the agreement between the parties recorded in the court settlement." Don't forget that this rule is the same for authentic instruments and court settlements. So the regulatory framework created by the European regulations, the European legislator, by numerous, as you see, European regulation, is clear, and I add is consolidated, and it can be summarized, just as a general idea, as follows. And here, I must admit, I copy almost verbatim what Jonathan Fitch wrote in his book I mentioned at the beginning, exactly at page 137. So is not my personal opinion. I have to quote him. And so we can resume saying that for an authentic instrument to be eligible for cross-border enforcement in a member state different from the state of origin, we must determine A, that the authentic instrument falls within the material scope of the regulation concerned. Obviously, you know, and the different regulations are dedicated to a different scopes, obviously, civil and commercial matters, successions, matrimonial property, European enforcement order, and so on. So we have to check, first of all, if we are within the material scope of the regulation concerned. B, second point to note, the authentic instrument must fall within the temporal scope of the regulation. Even this is an important point because regulations have obviously different rules according to their entry into force. C, the authentic instrument was drawn up or registered in the member state of origin with the intervention of a public authority. And here is another very, very important element. We have to know who and what, how the different public authorities are and how they have to work, how they are doing their job inside their national competencies. D, fourth, the authentic instrument satisfy the requirements for its domestic enforceability in the state of origin. It must be enforceable in the state of origin, of course. E, fifth point, that the enforcement of the authentic instrument would not be manifestly contrary to the public policy of the member state of destination, which is a general norma rule in all these cases. I would also like to remind you that the verification of these requirements can be facilitated by the fact that the authentic instrument is accompanied by the certification of the issuing authority, as required for all the regulations in question. We know that the certification is not mandatory, but it is certainly a good solution to adopt almost in any case, and maybe to suggest to the interested parties to ask for the certification. And let me add, from maybe my professional point of view, that after having this overview of all the views, it can be said that in this case, there is a real application of the principle of mutual trust between the legal system of the different EU member states, which is extended to a category of documents that evidently deserve it. And this is due to the specific rules, I insist, that are applied in the production, the creation of this kind of documents, authentic instruments. And evidently, I add, to the confidence given to the authors, the notaries in this case, but not only the notaries. President Bormann already said that there can be many, many different public authorities creating a public document, authentic instrument in the sense of the regulation. And so why, at the end of this short presentation, this concise presentation of the main rules, why such a clear system substantially enforced from 1968 doesn't work, or better, does it find so many obstacles in its functioning, as I experienced in my professional life? I don't know if there is someone in the audience who can say that it is easier than I can imagine, or I experienced in my personal professional life. It will be welcome, of course. But my personal opinion is that the difficulties arise to the very same reasons why we are here today. I read in the same presentation of the program that I quote now, where it is said, one of the main obstacles in cross-border enforcement is the lack of mutual trust between national authorities of different EU member states, as the national authorities treat enforcement titles from other member states with reservation and mistrust. This is further enhanced by the diversity of enforcement titles, and our research will contribute to a better understanding of differences in structure, content, and effects of judgments, I add, of authentic instruments, in individual member states. Research will further focus on the differentiation of dogmatic and empirical concepts of different enforcement titles in the framework of recognition and enforcement. In addition, project team will analyze the importance of terminological barriers that occur during the course of cross-border enforcement. So linguistical barriers, cultural barriers as well. And this last part of the presentation is exactly what we need, in my opinion, to create a common language, a common science, a common mentality for the practitioners of the whole European legal area for the best knowledge and the practical use of authentic instruments. Results that, in my opinion, are not so easy to obtain. I've tried it, the experience with my colleagues of different member states, because it's not easy, because even if this type of document has a solid common basis, even from an historical point of view, from as the notaries of the civil law countries, today, this authentic instrument, this mean, it is known and used in different ways in the different member states, and some of them, of course, do not even know it. These concerns are also clearly explained in Jonathan Fitchen's book that I insist to evoke, where it is pointed out that the rules of the various member states regarding authentic instruments, their discipline, their enforceability are not homogeneous. Indeed, I would add, there may also be misunderstanding about what is actually meant by enforceability. We have already heard today the concerns about the definition of civil or commercial matters and many other subjects, and also enforceability can be one of them. I mean, on one of these concepts difficult to define at a European level in the entire European legal area. And so let us ask ourselves if, according to the rules we have seen, an authentic instrument can produce in another member state the same enforceable effects that it produces in the state of origin. Is it possible if these effects are not permitted from the authentic instrument issued in this same state, I mean in the state of destination,